So I'll chair the admin, and then Dave is going to chair public this afternoon. So first up, we have Bradley.
Oh, and before we get to that one, I've got a non-agenda item to bring up.
Thank you.
So in keeping with periodic updates on the Big Sky Passenger Rail Authority formation process, I just learned this morning that Granite County to our east and southeast will actually be having a public hearing on the 27th of this month. So that was a little bit out of the blue, and Prairie County will be having their public hearing on the 19th. Sadly, I got a thumbs down from Lake County. They will be taking a pass for the time being. They will be observing the train passing through their county. No. And still waiting to hear back on Bighorn County. So hopefully my goal is within a month, we will execute the joint resolution, and this thing will be done. So, okay.
Well done. Yeah. Any other public comment on items that are on the agenda? Apologies for that. Okay, Bradley.
Hey again, guys. For your review today, we've got the contract with Phoenix Security to provide some after-hours security for the election center here. We had discussed this with the Commissioner Slotnick a couple of weeks ago about just helping make sure that we can protect the integrity of the election in here. And with the after-hours security, you know, if we had a fire or a flood or a break into the building, it could damage the integrity of the election. So we wanted to make sure that we had staff here from the hours where we're not currently working overnight and on the weekends to just help protect the integrity of the election, making sure that all of our voted ballots are still secure inside our locked area in the building, and making sure that our premises is updated and ready to go. We went through, and the funds from the recent CTCL grant will cover the cost of additional security. So this will be provided for through CTCL, and we worked closely with Phoenix to help get a contract ready to be able to start tomorrow night, which is perfect because we're about to send out 70,000 ballots tomorrow. So when we start getting those in, we'll really want to make sure that we have our building and our security and our premises all locked in.
So Bradley, what does this specifically look like? A person there at the at the office all night, or?
Exactly. So we've got them a key for our main office building so that they could use the restrooms. They'll have a security vehicle here. They're not an armed personnel, but they can call 911. You know, we have had people whom have been staying on the premises overnight. So similar things like that. We just want to make sure that when we have voted ballots stored inside our building, that it's as secure as it can be. And you know that during our budget request, we're working on a security system for the building in general, working with some HAVA funding for that. However, we weren't able to get it implemented for this election. So this is a great way for us to help make sure that everybody's votes counted.
Sounds good. I would move that we approve the contract with Phoenix Security.
Okay, I guess, and I second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thanks. Jenny.
Thanks, Bradley.
Good morning. I am here to ask Commissioner Slotnick to sign the grant documents, the award documents that we got for the Improving Criminal Justice Responses Grant. This is the second round of funding that we've had through the county, and it really supplies a lot of the linkages for addressing sexual violence primarily, but also domestic violence. It funds a civil and criminal advocate in the Relationship Violence Services Division. And then it also funds some call time for First Step SANE nurses so they can work 24 hours a day. It also funds some additional time money to allow for the YWCA volunteers to have a nice stipend, a better stipend than the Y would be able to afford on their own. And also, and then that draws, people that are more reliable and can get compensated. And also some advocates that are co-located, well, an advocate that is co-located in the Missoula Police Department. It also funds $20,000 of training. So I'm asking that Commissioner Slotnick sign it, and the word can be accepted. Do you have any questions?
So actually, Josh isn't here. So would we be, Chris? Would we need to authorize the acting chair when needed to sign this?
Is there a timeline? I mean, Josh will be back on, or Josh can
the second week.
Sign.
What was that, Chris?
So yes, you could either authorize the chair in his absence and he can sign it when he gets back, or you could authorize the acting chair.
It might be easier and less confusing for the federal government if we have Commissioner Slotnick sign it, only because then, it's all the normal. And I don't know that we have this rush deadline or anything like that. So we can wait a couple weeks to have that signed if needed.
Okay.
Annie, I have special directions anyway, and Annie knows about those, but she can help with that aspect too.
Great. Thank you.
Okay.
I motion that Josh sign the amendment, or I'm sorry, not the amendment. Sign the Improving Criminal Justice Response Grant Award.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Betty. And next up is Colleen Morris. Hi.
Hi, how are you guys?
Good.
Good. So yes, I'm Colleen. I manage the immunization clinic over here at the health department. And just like the last, I think, 3 years, we have an amendment between the Missoula County Employee Benefits Plan and ourselves, Missoula City County Health Department, to provide a off-site flu clinic specific to Missoula County employees who have the Employee Benefits Plan insurance. So we've typically done that during the Missoula County Health Fair. That's usually over at that Garlington building. We're not doing that this year just because of COVID. So we came up with this idea of doing similar to the COVID testing original site out at the fairgrounds. We're going to do a drive-through flu clinic on October 23rd for the employees of Missoula County. And we have an agreement with Risk and Benefits and the benefits plan to be reimbursed at $30 per vaccine, which is a decrease from our regular costs that we ask other insurances to pay. So there's a bit of a price break there, the same as it's been the last couple of years, so $30 each. So it's just a one-time amendment for this event, and that's about it. So we just need approval of the amendment.
And it's just a one-day clinic?
It is. It's a one-day clinic, 10 to 4 on the 23rd. People have to make appointments. I think some information went out in the county newsletter on October 1 or 2. And so it is just a one-day thing, just because of staffing. It's quite the process to set up at the fairgrounds. And
so what happens if folks cannot make it that day? How do they go about getting a flu shot?
So they can still come here at the health department. You know, our clinic is open. We are doing only appointments. We started that at the 1st of August because of COVID and safety reasons. So people can call 258-3511 and you just schedule with our scheduler, and Risk and Benefits will still pay. You know, there's no out of pocket for an employee who comes here if they have Risk and Benefits insurance. So it's just kind of a price break because of the quantity that we can do for the benefits plan on the 23rd to try to do kind of a mass group all at once.
Great.
So.
Thanks. I would move that we approve the amendment.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Mr. Hart.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
I'm grateful for that vaccination clinic. I'm already signed up for the 23rd. I'm going out there that morning at one point in time. The only thing I was disappointed in is they told me I could not show up on my bicycle. I had to be in my vehicle, and so I'll have to drive out there. But otherwise, that's a great benefit, and as an employee, I sure appreciate it. I've got a couple of items for you today. I think the first one involves a stormwater drainage easement. This is a stormwater drainage easement that comes off of the very lower reach of Lower Miller Creek Road and goes west and is discharged through an outfall into the Bitterroot River just upstream of the Buckhouse Bridge, if that gets you oriented. When Missoula County was granted this easement in 1983, all of this property was in Missoula County. Now some of the land on which the easement and drain water infrastructure runs is now within the city limits, and it's tied in with the city of Missoula's South Hills collection and discharge system. And so several years ago, the City Public Works Department asked our Public Works Department if they would entertain the idea of taking over that easement. And that seemed to be a good idea for everybody, but this has taken a few years to actually come to fruition. The city would like to be assigned that easement because it helps them with their stormwater utility. It helps them with their MS4 permitting requirements. It will provide them an opportunity to do water monitoring at this discharge location into the Bitterroot. And frankly, there's no downside for Missoula County to no longer be the easement holder here. The city's going to maintain and improve and assume all liability for the discharge infrastructure that's been in place since the mid-'80s. So what I have in front of you this morning is a document called an assignment of easement rights. It's assigning Missoula County's easement rights to the city of Missoula. And I think I told you what I need to tell you about this. Public Works is in favor of this. Both the county Public Works and the city of Missoula believe that this assignment is in the public interest. And that's important for only one reason. Well, it's always important to have things that we bring to you be in the public interest. But a little legal lesson here this morning. When I first was asked about whether or not this was something that Missoula County could do for the city, I thought, well, wait a minute. I'm not sure that we can assign our easement to the city because you think about it. Say I have an access easement across Juanita's land to access some property, beyond her land. I can't assign my interest in that access easement to my buddy who, wants to have the same access right that I have. He would have to go to Commissioner Vero and get his own easement, and that would be, of course, up to her to grant. So normally, in the normal course of things, a holder of an easement can't just transfer it to somebody else. Because this is a public utility easement, there is an exception in the law, and the basis for that is that public utility easements benefit not just one person, but they benefit everybody. So in other words, everybody arguably in the city and county of Missoula benefits by this stormwater discharge infrastructure because it's part of a larger system, and it helps us, maintain the water quality and other benefits to the public. So for that reason, we as the easement holder have the right to transfer this easement to another public entity, and that's what we're doing here. So I would recommend that the commission assign its rights in this drainage easement to the city of Missoula. Do you have any questions for me?
Thanks, John. I was on the fence there for a minute, but you made a convincing argument. So I will go ahead with your recommendation, and I will move that we approve the assignment of the stormwater drainage easement.
Especially since you said there's no downside. So if Hart says there's no downside, then this is all in favor.
Aye.
Hi, thank you, and thanks for the lesson. Oh, and you're up again for subdivision improvements.
Yeah, thank you for approving that assignment. And I hope that my prediction that there's no downside to this rings true, at least until I retire.
If not, consider October 8, 2020 a career-ending event for you. How about that?
Let's hope not. Let's hope not. And if something happens, as a good attorney, I'll figure out how to make it not my fault. Okay. All right. Enough of frivolity this morning. The next item I have for you is a subdivision improvement agreement and guarantee. This relates to the Long Addition number 2 subdivision and phases 1, 2, and 3 of that subdivision, which was given final plat approval in January of 2017. There still remains some improvements that haven't been installed and approved. Those consist of trails that have to be built where lot 16 fronts Highway 10. The estimated costs of those improvements are $10,602.90. That includes a 25% contingency to cover unexpected cost increases or the inflation. The improvements agreement that I have in front of you is to have those improvements in and approved before September 28th of 2022. The promise has been guaranteed by letter of credit 1023 from Trail West Bank. And I've reviewed that letter of credit. It's actually a modification of an earlier letter of credit, just an update to it, which brings me to my next point. This is now the third time that I brought an improvements agreement to you. This is the second time it's been renewed for these exact same improvements. I tried to get some data for you to figure out why the developer has not been able to put these improvements in and why we're going through this now for a third time. I don't have an answer for you today, but what I am going to tell you is that if they don't have the improvements in before September 28th of 2022, then and they want to come back with another improvements agreement, I think we'll take a very hard look at that, and at the very least, I'll ask the developer to come to the meeting where you would consider another improvements agreement and explain to you why this is taking longer than it seems like it should for a simple trail that isn't that expensive in the whole scope of things.
John, could you explain, and I know you have in the past, but what is the trigger for something like this to get on your radar? I mean, are they wanting to file a final plat, or what is it that brings us to this point today?
here's what brings us to this point today. In January of 2017, they came to the county and said, we are ready to file the final plat for this subdivision. And they had met all the conditions of preliminary approval. They met all the subdivision regulations, the surveying requirements, all the requirements of the various county departments. However, not all of the improvements that were a requirement of final plat had been installed at that time. Normally, what we see is, roads that maybe haven't been built, sidewalks, curbs and gutters, other more significant infrastructure hasn't been actually installed and approved, and so you have a somewhat more significant improvements agreement. In this case, it's simply a trail between, on the one end of Lot 16 and Highway 10 that needs to be installed. And in order then for the subdivider to be given approval for their final plat, have that final plat recorded so they can begin to sell lots to the public, they have to come up with a mechanism whereby they will guarantee that at some certain date, they will have that infrastructure in place, inspected and approved by our Public Works Department. And that's how we get to the point of these improvements agreements and guarantees. We don't see them with every subdivision that wants to have a final plat approval, but they're certainly not uncommon. And with this one, my question that I wasn't able to answer is, what's the holdup on this simple trail to be built? And yet, having said that, and having put that on the record, I still don't have any hesitation recommending to you that you enter into one more improvements agreement for the long addition number 2. And that's because, again, the stakes are fairly low here. It's just one trail. All the other improvements in infrastructure have long since been installed and inspected and improved. It's just this trail.
But the final plat has not been approved, or has it been?
No, it has been approved, and it was filed by the developer with the clerk and recorder in January of 2017. So almost, coming up on 4 years ago now.
So you're saying that everything is in place for them to start selling lots except for this trail?
Well, everything's in place for them to sell lots, even without them putting in this trail. In other words, I believe they've sold all the lots in this subdivision already, and yet they just haven't built this trail, which is the final condition of their subdivision that they have not satisfied.
Okay, thank you.
So, and this would be broader than just this particular instance here. It would apply to any like it where we are, where we may have already approved the final plat, and there is an improvements agreement in place. Why would we not just, and maybe it's partially a call as far as how critical the improvement is for the subdivision, why would we not just not extend this and I guess just build it and with the money that they have guaranteed by a lending institution right now?
I mean, I guess the short answer there is unless the developer, 4 years does seem like a long time. It's really not that long in the whole scope of things. I'll be bringing a subdivision improvements agreement to you within probably 30 to 60 days, where final plat was given more than a decade ago and the improvements are still not built. That particular developer is making significant progress, but hasn't quite got to the end game. But to answer your question, Dave, I think if we had some evidence, or we had good knowledge that this developer just is never going to do this, then that would be the point where we would call on their letter of credit, get the money, either bid that out to be done, or have our own public works department do that and use the money that they put up. But we haven't reached that point with this developer. You know, they're represented by WGM, and so I don't have direct communication with the developer himself. But I wouldn't recommend that we're to that point yet.
How much
Okay.
does the trail cost?
The trail's going to cost, well, the estimate for the cost of the trail, let me tell you that. $7,854.
I mean, that's a little disconcerting if they've sold all the lots and can't cough up that much to build a trail. But be that as it may, I guess I would say if 2 years hence we find ourselves in the same place, they need to get themselves down here before us and have a conversation, I think.
I agree. I agree. And if I'm around, I'll make that happen.
You will hopefully be around somewhere.
Well, then I move to approve that we enter into the subdivision improvements agreement for a third time and final time.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Thanks,
Thank
John.
you very much, commissioners.
Thank you.
That was an invigorating discussion, John. Thanks.
Yeah, I think it'll all be downhill from here.
Emery. Oh, there he is. Okay.
I'm here. My thing is not nearly as invigorating as that discussion. I'm sorry to say. So I have for you it's a purchase approval. This is our yearly Microsoft licensing renewal. It's the second year of a 3-year contract. I believe it's in the amount of $207,000. This covers pretty much everything Microsoft we do. So Office, Exchange, all of our email, Teams, a lot of products that we leverage. For budget, but we'll be able to cover the difference with CARES money because it's basically due to all the extra folks that we've had to add at the health department to keep up with the pandemic. So we should be in pretty good shape there. Other than that, I think it's just the dollar amount that requires your approval.
Sounds pretty straightforward. I would move that we authorize the chair to sign the agreement with Dell EMC.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Erin.
Hi. I'm on 2 Teams meetings right now as we speak, so I'm on. Hope you can see me and hear me okay. I'm a grants administrator with Missoula County. I'm here today to see about getting a contract signed with the state of Montana Department of Public Health and Human Services, Addictive and Mental Disorders Division. We did receive a grant award that is specifically for people who are undergoing who have additional crisis behavioral health needs during COVID-19. And it's pass through money from the addictive and from SAMHSA, which is a federal agency. And they had some very specific guidelines as to how that money could be spent. So 70% of it had to go to people with severe disabling mental illness and or substance use disorder. 20% had to go to people with just any sort of mental issues. And then the final 10% had to go to healthcare providers affected by COVID. So I did some stakeholder interviews, talked to various people and worked with the state to figure that out. And the 70% is going to our jail mental health services. We reallocated funds that was previously paid for by the county tribal matching grant, and that is now being paid for by the addictive and mental disorder, or by this new SAMHSA funding. The 20% is going to All Nations, and it's helping cover their after-school program for youth, and helping with some of the services that they provide there. And then the final 10% is going to the Learning Center at Red Willow, and Kathy Mangan is offering 2 different 6-week courses for healthcare providers at no cost, about resiliency and dealing with trauma. And the first one actually has already started because we're getting a little late with the contracts, and it filled up right away. So she already has 30 people signed up for that. And then she'll offer another one in the spring. So those are what we're offering with this, and this is just the contract with the state. Follow up with the subcontract probably next week or so. So any questions?
Yeah, just briefly, like, how many folks do you think this will touch?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, the jail mental health staff, they probably interact with, 40 to 60 people on any given month. The All Nations, I have not heard from them about how many people they're seeing, but I mean, I would guess that they would have at least 10. I can give you, I mean, since all of this, that's actually a very new program that they're just getting started, but they're using a curriculum that was developed to look at more traditional, to kind of like reconnect with your traditional history. And so they're doing things like making pemmican and using choke cherries and things like that. So it's a very what we think of as a non-traditional approach to after school programming, but for them, it's really, it's traditional. It's truly traditional. And so, and then with the Red Willow, she was going to cap it at 25, but open it up per session, but she is also recording it. So there were some people that weren't, she's doing the class, it's once a week at 7:30 in the morning. She was hoping to get people before they started a traditional workday. But since a lot of people that work in the medical fields don't work traditional schedules, she is also recording the sessions and giving people the opportunity, if they can't attend virtually at that time, that they can always have the recordings later.
That's really helpful. Thank you. I mean, that's significant bang for buck.
Yeah, and I'd be happy to give you an update, because obviously anytime you have federal funding, there is some pretty extensive data collection that goes along with it. And so we'll be collecting some good data, and I'd be happy to give you an update in like 6 months or so.
Thanks.
Yeah, that'd be good. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the meantime, I would move that we authorize the chair to sign the contract with DPHHS.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, Erin.
Great. Thanks so much.
Thanks.
You guys have a good day.
Thanks.
Good luck with your other Zoom or your other Microsoft Teams. Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks.
How's it?
Hi, how are you guys?
Good. Thanks.
Good. Well, I'm requesting board approval for change order 12 at the library. They had a issue with the heating system a little bit with the hydronic heating. They needed to order a hydronic pressure valve to correct it. The light fixtures that they ordered didn't match the voltage that was available, so they did some changing on that. And then the other part of that would be a weather head for the MCAT satellite dish is the change order. It's just over $29,000 for it.
And Jason, how are we doing for funding to deal with change orders like this?
I think we're, with Andrew and Michelle, they've been doing a ton, and thank you, Andrew. I think we're close, but Andrew would tell you the
We're about $1 million away from having to tap into the letter of credit. So they've got, I think, as of yesterday, it was about $1.2 million in available funds before they're out, and we would have to tap into the letter of credit provided for any overage.
Okay.
So we're watching it very closely.
Okay.
So when this is change order number 12, this is the total number starting when?
From the beginning.
Very beginning of the project.
Yes, ma'am. Yep.
Oh, okay.
And I would like to say that this is the last one, and I asked that question, and I was not given the answer yes. They were giving hopefully, but potentially not the last one. So
We should know this because we just toured the library, but when is it opening?
a couple months ago. No, I'm just kidding. I believe in the next month or so. I don't have that's a floating date at this point, all probably based on getting the final materials in and stuff like that need to be done. And with this time of COVID and everything, shipping sometimes takes longer than expected. So yeah. I would hope in the next month or so that they're in and open.
Thank you. Well, I move to approve the change order number 12.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hi, Nancy.
Well, good morning, commissioners and everyone else. For the record, Nancy Rattel, Grants Administrator with the county. And I have 7 contracts that will be, that's the next 7 agenda items. And if you want to follow the same procedure as we've done before, where I just recap what each of those are. Okay, so I will start with agenda item number 9, and all of these have to do with funding from the Community Assistance Fund, and that is the fund that is used to help our residents with human basic needs: food, shelter, medical services, and emergency transportation. So that's the background on that. So item number 9 is is a contract with Homeward for assistance in the amount of $12,500 for their home ownership center programs. These are great programs that they offer, having to do with financial education, home buyer education, and rental education. Item number 10 is also a contract with Homeward, and this is to help support their landlord liaison position. Currently, it's been funded through the Financial Admin Fund, but based upon our earlier conversations, it was like, well, perhaps this should come from the Community Assistance Fund. So what's unique about this is the contract begins from the CAF funding starting January 1st of 2021. And that's the landlord liaison position that is working with landlords to try to reduce barriers for those persons seeking shelter. All right, and that was $26,975. Agenda item number 11 is with Missoula Aging Services, and this is to provide nutrition services. And I love this program because it really does go out throughout Missoula County. They're assisting with under age 60, because they do receive funding in Meals on Wheels from the federal government for those, typically older than that, but the under 60 that are disabled and need some assistance. So they are serving meals up in Condon, Seeley Lake, Bonner, and Lolo, as well as, obviously the city proper. But this is a contract with Aging Services for $40,000. Alrighty. Agenda item 12 is a contract with Garden City Harvest. Again, this is just, I just have to say, as usual, that I just love this program and working with these agencies that just provide direct impact. This is Garden City Harvest is their neighborhood farms food security project that we help support with $33,576. And what I found, I love this program in terms of, because it grows food, it helps with growing food, but their distribution system, their reports are just amazing about all the people involved through volunteers, mobile farm stands, and so on. So that was item 12. Item 13 is a contract with Partnership Health Center, and I think you're well acquainted with this in terms of this was $100,000 to help them get up and running at the food bank for a satellite medical clinic. Item 14 is 14 and 15 are 2 contracts with the Poverello Center. The first one is to support their homeless outreach team in the amount of $25,000. $25,000. And this is where, you know, the folks go out directly on the streets to help those that are homeless and on the streets, just to help work with them and provide other services. But also the team members respond to, you know, they have a phone line. I feel like my visual aid. There's a phone line where they respond if there's any issues from residents or businesses. And then finally, item 15 is again Poverello Center contract for helping with shelter operations, housing assessment. So that concludes the 7 contracts. I'm happy to answer any questions that I might know about.
Yeah, no surprises here. All good work, and thanks, Nancy, for doing the heavy lifting on shepherding this stuff through. I would move that we approve items 9 through 15.
Second, yeah, and I really enjoy, hearing about these. So this is awesome. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you
so much, Nancy. Sarah.
Good morning. This is just a simple board appointment. So the Fair Event Committee has 3 terms that were coming to end, just the regular terms terming out. So there's the 3 terms are for Campbell Barrett, Jim Sadler, and Laura Mitchell. Laura Mitchell has decided to resign from the committee. Jim Sadler and Campbell Barrett both submitted their email of interest to continue serving, and their reappointment is also supported by Billy from the fairgrounds. Sorry, we have 3 meetings going on in my house right now. There's background. So we had 2 new applications, one from Becky Mapson and then one from Tom Aldrich. And so we just need to either reappoint the current members or fill those terms with new appointees. I would suggest reappointing the current members as they have good recommendations from staff and have been a great help with getting this committee going. So we need to fill at least 1 term with one of the new applications.
Thanks, Sarah. Well, I agree that we ought to reappoint Jim and Campbell to the committee, and I would lean towards Tom Aldrich as the individual to fill the vacancy, just based on his institutional memory and experience working out at the fair.
Yep, I completely agree. And then he specifically said that he's not wanting to participate in a way of pushing an agenda because he really appreciates how things are running right now, and he just wants to be supportive. And yeah, that was great to hear. So yes, I second that motion.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Sarah.
Thanks, Sarah.
Yeah, thank you. I'll get the letters out this afternoon.
Thanks.
For you to sign.
Any correspondence? No, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Communication needs requests.
The only thing I have, commissioners, is just, you probably got the email, but Bradley's going to start hosting weekly press conferences on elections starting today at 1. So just FYI on that. And if there's ever anything that you guys are hearing from constituents that we should address in those, just let me know. Thank you.
Thank
Great.
you.
Thanks.
I'm glad he's doing that. Thanks, Bradley. COVID-19, wildfires, locusts. Bloody. Okay.
Murder hornets.
Murder.
Yeah, this is here.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't think there's anything new. Adrian mentioned she's gonna be getting you the end wildfire resolution hopefully next week. That'll be on your next week agenda. But I haven't heard from her that there's any new updates.
Sorry, what did you say it was, Chris? You cut out.
So the resolution to end the restrictions and stuff that we have in place related to fire season. So our end of emergency declaration.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
Oh, I've got one COVID thing. So, Juanita, if you're going to be attending the MAC call this afternoon, a constituent reached out to me and was wondering what, if anything, messaging or otherwise the health department or the health officer might be looking at in the run up to Halloween. Given that's a holiday that has the potential to attract lots of folks who are not socially distancing and such. So maybe just mention that there's some community interest in how we're going to approach this particular holiday.
Great. Will do.
Okay.
Events and invites. Tomorrow, courthouse steps. Chantel's able to go. Okay. I think that's it.
Great. And until this afternoon, we'll
We'll see
reconvene for more fun and excitement.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Bye.
All right. Goodbye.
Thanks. Bye.